All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, actually talking about music in this episode and doing it in real time for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 real people out there just like you and just like me. So I look at other channels, just quick little editorial here, have 5,000 subscribers and they're getting 80,000 views, whereas I have 80,000 subscribers and I get like 1 or 2,000 views. All right. So the algorithm isn't my friend for whatever reason. And I think it's because I inject politics and cultural issues. And I talk about the medical industrial complex. And there's stuff out there today that I could talk about. What is it? Clint Eastwood's wife. Go Google that. Or girlfriend. I don't know. Maybe they weren't married. I'm surprised Clint is still here, too. That's surprising. Maybe he skipped the little elf protocol, but not sure about his wife. Anyway, if you can support the channel, I'd really appreciate that either through Patreon, YouTube memberships, or buy me a coffee, which is always great. Someone bought me a coffee yesterday. And so, again, I've been very caffeinated during these videos. Also, want to promote this Voltage, Fortunes, and Willows. Now, some of you are like, don't you usually talk about Voyage? You're confusing me. I'm confusing myself. All right. This is more like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers kind of stuff. Again, it's from a country that typically isn't on the rock and roll radar. I think it's Holland. Anyway, these guys are really good. So go look them up. Fortunes and Willows. I've even got the t-shirt on here, which is really extreme. So it's just, I ordered the album, got the t-shirt. This is what I do. I have too many t-shirts. And anyway, folks, I want to talk about this whole Deep Purple thing because it's weird now. Looking back, Steve Morse was the guitarist in Deep Purple for like 28 years. And when he joined the band, I thought it was kind of weird because here's this Dixie Dregs guy, but he was in Kansas for a few years. So I'm thinking, okay, he was in Kansas, but his style is even more sort of opposed to what, say, Richie Blackmore did in Deep Purple. So when he joined, I'm like, okay, they're doing the name brand guitarist thing because Steve Morse at the time was like #1 in every guitar publication out there. He was on the cover of various publications, and people just thought he was the best. And so you bring this guy in, and quite honestly, he probably wasn't a good fit. And these guys are talking about it now. And poor Steve Morse, he leaves Deep Purple to take care of his wife. Then his wife passes away. And now the band is out there basically saying, well, we finally found a great guitarist, Simon McBride. Here's the article from Rock Celebrities. It says, Ian Gillan explains why Deep Purple is better with new guitarist Simon McBride. Man, now, here's the truth, though. Simon does seem to fit this band better. His playing style, if you go back and listen to some of his solo work, it seems to fit with Deep Purple. So what's the deal? How come you guys spent almost 30 years with the wrong guitarist? It's not as if Steve Morse was a bad guy. I don't think there was any ill will there, although Steve Morse has made comments like, yeah, I left the band and 5 minutes later, they had my replacement. So he was obviously a little taken aback by that. It's never a good thing to look back, What is it? Lot's wife, she made the mistake of looking back and she became a pillar of salt. Anyway, this is what Ian Gillan had to say, according to this publication here. He, meaning Simon McBride, has been with us for about a year. And we came out of the bar one night and somewhere I said, are you in the band yet or what? He said, I think so. I said, yeah, I guess. So it was like that. Simon's been amazing. He's taken over from Steve Morse and he's changed things quite a lot. So that's an indication that he's changed things for the better. He's a catalyst in the sense that how human chemistry can be. So there's chemistry there. And by default or by omission, they're not talking about the lack of chemistry with Steve Morse. That one little thing can change everything else. I think we all feel very relaxed with Simon's style of playing. This reminds me in the Chicago, the band documentary, where they're having trouble with Danny Seraphin on drums. And then uh, Triss and Bowden takes over, and they're all like, yeah, now we finally have a drummer who understands, how to keep time. And you've been with this other guy for so many years, and you don't say anything positive about the early days of that particular situation, but you're talking now about how this is so much better, and this is kind of what Deep Purple is doing. This is like a Danny Seraphin moment here. But Danny Seraphin was groundbreaking, and so was Steve Morse. Maybe they just didn't fit their bands. I think the difference is Danny Seraphin fit Chicago really well in their early days, but in the 80s, where his lead drumming, was kind of like a Keith Moon type character, a jazzy Keith Moon. I don't know how to describe it, but a different style. And they just needed a guy to go back there and pound the skins. And apparently they just, Deep Purple needed a riff master. And Simon McBride is a riff master, whereas Morse is more of a riff bender. He's a guy who just plays all of these crazy, jazzy, fusion-ish licks, whereas McBride is more straightforward. In fact, he says that. I feel very relaxed with Simon's style of playing. It's very compatible with the way we started. Very straight ahead. The platforms are simple. The virtuosity is on top. So it's not like the showing off comes first. It's just beautiful playing. So it's very second nature to him. So he put a lot of drive back into the rhythm section because he's also a great rhythm player. So when he sat in there with Ian and Roger and they crank it away, it's exciting. It's really great. He doesn't fake anything. There's no pretense. He actually plays every single note accurately. Wow. Talk about praise for Simon McBride. Well, they found their guy. It took them 28 years, but they finally figured out that maybe Steve Morse wasn't the right man for the job. Although they did create a lot of great music when Steve Morse was in the band. And most of that music has been ignored over the years. Of course, they have a new album coming out, and so far it sounds really good. And if you're a fan of the old stuff, I think Simon McBride is more accurate to what Richie did in Deep Purple. So that's all there is there. That's it. It's just weird how they keep going after this, though, and saying, yeah, this is so much better than when Steve Morse was in the band. And I feel bad for Steve. Steve's a good guy. I saw Steve in Kansas for the Power Tour. That's how old I am. And he was amazing. I mean, his playing was crazy. And you had Steve Walsh, who was still doing keyboard handstands at the time. Billy Greer was in the band. And it was just a good time. That was a good tour and a good lineup. So I have fond memories of Steve Morse, and I have new memories, new recollections of this band called Voltage and their album Fortunes and Willows. Check it out if you like the Tom Petty sound. The later on Tom Petty sound, like the stuff from the 80s into the early 90s. That's what Voltage really represents. But there are other reference points. I just point the most obvious one out to you. Also, this weekend, folks, if you see this video and it's still the weekend, go check out Modern Retro Radio. They are doing an indie artist weekend. So you're going to hear music that you won't hear anywhere else. And these guys, they've got good ears, better ears than mine. They find stuff that even I can't find. So again, modernretroradio.com. Take a break from corporate radio. It's definitely, it helps with your, musical palette. You just keep hearing the same thing over and over again. And to me, it's like, okay, I just want to turn everything off and relax, And so modern retro radio is a good way to unwind and catch some new music. All right, folks, I'm done with this one. Thanks for supporting the channel, for watching, for putting up with me. I appreciate that. God bless everyone. Stay safe out there. Hopefully, things are going to simmer down in the political world, but I don't think that's the case, as now I hear rumors that Joe Biden might be calling it quits, or maybe not. We'll see. I'll do a video on that if it happens, because I have some strong opinions, and I'm sure rock stars will weigh in and say it's the end of the world. And I'll be talking about that too. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you soon.